Now discus are a very shy species of fish when they're new to the aquarium. So as you can see, these ones here that have recently been put in, hiding at the back of the aquarium is really quite common, and it's very normal to take several days for the fish to settle in enough to actually start feeding. And usually the first food that they'll want to start eating is live worm. So sometimes you need to feed them live worm at the start just to get them in the swing of eating in your aquarium. Then you can usually start getting them onto frozen worm. Then once they start to get trained in regards to where the food comes from and who's putting the food in, then you can usually start to get them onto dry food as well. Ultimately getting them onto New Life Spectrum is the go. And the way that you need to get them onto New Life Spectrum is that you mix the frozen food in with the Spectrum so it all smells the same. So then when they come up to get their regular feed, they're eating frozen worms or whatever it was you're feeding. And they eat some Spectrum too because it all's mixed in and it's smelling like what they associate as food. So sometimes you've got to be a little bit patient. Sometimes it is a bit of a process. Other things is make sure your pH is a bit on the acid side. Make sure that your KH is not 0. Make sure your temperature is a bit warm. Keep the temperature about 28 degrees. That'll increase their metabolism and increase the chance of them feeding. And if you've got other fish that can train them to eat, it helps too. So having other fish in there that are rushing up and eating the food will help the discus to learn that behaviour. So anyway, if you put some comments and tips at the bottom on how you got your discus feeding, what problems you may have had getting your discus to feed, then I'm sure everyone would appreciate it. And I think everyone would agree that patience is one of the keys. The other key too with discus is feeding little and often. So instead of giving them one big feed a day, which sometimes doesn't suit them, they have a very small mouth and they obviously don't like to guzzle down food too much if they're only new to the aquarium. So if you fed them, the other thing I find that helps too is actually feeding them at night time, because in the wild they have the tiny little mouth which is for picking copepods and amphipods and so forth off the driftwood in the Amazon. So therefore they're all active at night. So in the wild, discus do actually feed predominantly at night time. They are opportunists, they'll eat whatever they can whenever they can, but giving them a feed well after the light's out or even before you turn the light on is also advisable.